Radicals will no longer be given a free hand to dominate our institutions of higher education. Using my leverage, and it's a tremendous leverage, and I used it before very well. You know, we put penalties on them if they wouldn't let conservatives or anybody speak. Big penalties. All of a sudden, everybody was invited to speak. I don't know if anybody knows that, but you sort of felt it. But it was very good. But it was somewhat artificial because they were doing it because they would have had huge monetary penalties. But at least we were getting the word out. Everybody should be able to speak. But using my leverage over college accreditors, we are going to choke off the money to schools that aid the Marxist assault on our American heritage and on Western civilization itself. The days of subsidizing communist indoctrination in our colleges will soon be over. And, you know, I will say this. This is I would say, very largely conservative group. I call it common sense group because I think a lot of conservatism is common sense. When they ask you for a definition, it starts with common sense. But I tell them very often that you will be shocked to see colleges, even the ones that you hear are most liberal. We have tremendous numbers of people out there, I think even more. They don't speak up as much, but they're starting to speak up. You know, when you see Bud Light and when you see all of the things that have happened, I mean, you take a look at that. They're down 37%. The company is, nobody's ever seen it. And you know, the radical left has always used that. They've used their buying power. They'd sort of name a company and go after a company. We've never done it. That just happened by osmosis, actually, but it's also happening. I heard Target mentioned today and various others. And we have tremendous power to make sure that our country goes down the right tracks. We're going to smash the Marxist diversity, equity, and inclusion bureaucracies that are driving up tuition costs and sticking you with crushing debt. And for any universities that want federal student loan dollars, we will also require them to offer real job placement and career services, as well as options for accelerated and low-cost degrees. These institutions have gone up. The pricing has gone up more than just about any industry. You look at their costs, and they drive them up because the federal government gives loans to everybody, so it's more expensive, but somebody has to pay back that loan, except under Biden, but the Supreme Court decided that that wasn't going to happen. My administration will strictly enforce last month's landmark Supreme Court decision to move our country forward with a merit-based system of education. In other words, if you get great marks and if you've worked hard and you did all of the things, you're going to get into that college. Somebody with half of the energy and the marks and all of the things necessary to get in, that's what we have to have. We have to have our absolute most brilliant people. This is such a competitive world. We have to have our most brilliant people going to the most brilliant schools and universities. And now that's what we have. These are some of the things that we've done for this country, and they are big, and a lot of them people didn't think would happen. And if colleges persist in continuing to violate your civil rights, we will have their endowments severely taxed and fined, and a portion of the seized funds used as restitution for the victims of these racist practices. They're really racist practices. In addition, I want to close the Department of Education and move education back.
All right, we're back here. Now the president speaking about education. Obviously, we're at a turning point event, and it's just fitting that we 50 years of an.
That's a big thing. You know, we have the worst education system just about in the world. We spend more per student by double and triple than any other country, and yet we're ranked at the bottom of the list. Like out of a group of 40 nations, we're 38, 39, and yet we're double and triple per pupil the cost. We're going to move it back to the states, let the states. We'll have a little tiny little, just to make sure they're teaching everybody English, you know, a little bit of guide. We want to make sure they're teaching English, but a little tiny coordination, but not much. Like how about an office the size of this podium, one person. Nevada, you got to do a little bit better. No, we're going to do a job. We're going to do a job, and we're going to have great education. And, you know, it's much more pinpointed this way also. And the parents can be much more involved. It's not this big bureaucracy. And then we'll be able to sell all those buildings that are occupied right now for so much money. So much money. Pay off debt. Pay off a lot of the debt, and we have plenty of it. Under my leadership, we will bring back free speech in America. Just last week, we've had some amazing rulings, you know that. Just last week, in a historic ruling, a brilliant federal judge ordered the Biden administration to cease and desist from their illegal and unconstitutional censorship in collusion with social media. In other words, the election was rigged. That's just another way of saying. That's just another way of saying it. You can say stuffing the ballots, and we have that too. We have everything you can have, but that's another way of saying. In fact, they did a report, some of the great pollsters, Fabrizio and McLaughlin and some of the great ones, and they said anywhere from 10 to 17 points difference because of what they were allowed to do. So that was a rigged election in so many different ways. A lot of this is just coming to light. If you saw the FBI Twitter, if you saw what happened with Facebook, DOJ, terrible, terrible thing. If we don't have free elections and great elections and honest elections where everybody believes in the election, and we don't have strong borders, we don't have a country. And we're going to bring our country back.